It's a long time waiting for that chance. The chance to play. The Giants came to play. The memory of losing last October still burns.
Cats are champions. The Wildcats have won their third championship in the NBL.
The financial disaster that almost eliminated the club, burning. But the Giants are back to play. The Cannons came to play. They've sat outside since 1992. Their glory years long forgotten until now. They have assembled an awesome team. A team that can play. It's been 5 months since the NBL left our screens. Today, it's alive again as the Cannons and the Giants contest the NBL Cup final. Good afternoon and welcome to the 1996 NBL Cup final live from the Sydney Entertainment Centre. A wonderful game for you this afternoon between the Canberra Cannons and the North Melbourne Giants, and here is how they made it. They played just last night. North Melbourne winning a thriller over the Townsville Suns. They led by more than 20 at one stage. Townsville came back. The Giants showed championship qualities to hold on. Reedy top scoring there. In the other game, quite a different picture. Canberra comfortably over Perth Wildcats, the defending NBL champions, and the Cannons look sensational in 1996. One of the reasons, welcome to you, Tim Morrissey, is the guard Darnell Mee, and his matchup with Darryl McDonald will be great.
I think it's going to be one of the most exciting elements of this game. Both players are keys to their team and put the ball in their hand and exciting things happen. I think it'll be really good to watch. And
some great Australian talent behind them, of course. Let's have a look at the team changes that they went through in the off-season. The Giants, very little really when you consider that Paul Maley is returning from injury, replacing the other import, Chris Gent. Maley is settled in this lineup. Most of the players know him. Tony Jensen, one of the big off-season buys, unfortunately, is not playing in this game. He suffered an injury in a pretty controversial clash with Grant Kruger from Townsville last night. And young Hoare is going to be a very talented player that Brett Brown is developing. Gent, Leader and Pearce all leaving the team, of course, the latter two retiring. Canberra, very, very big changes there. The biggest perhaps have been the signings of Darnell Mee and Robert Rose, very similar players. They will impact on this league in 1996. And Chris Blakemore adding a lot of strength to the front court. Cofield and Scales are gone. Likewise, the two young Aussies, Armfield and Wachowski. David Graham, Canberra, of course, making a lot more changes than North Melbourne. But the Giants' settled lineup could be a factor in their favour.
Sure, the Giants have had a similar lineup now for a couple of years, and that will really help them tonight, I think.
Let's have a look at the starting fives, and that is one thing that hasn't changed too much from the off-season for North Melbourne. McDonald, Johnson, Reedy, Maley is back and playing well. Paul Rees looking good too. For the Cannons, Darnell Mee, a player to watch out for today. David Close has been shooting brilliantly from the perimeter. Blakemore has made a big impact with Dwight and Borner in the front court.
Okay, for the benches we have with the Giants, Stephen Hall, Larry Senstock, John Stelzer and Matt Shanahan, giving them a lot of depth, with the Cannons having Mann, Gladwin, Jamie Perlman, Pillen and Boree.
All set for the NBL Cup final now at the Sydney Entertainment Centre. 5-2, the record for both these teams. And there is perhaps, Tim Morrissey, the story of the game in Mee and Blakemore.
I think so. Chris Blakemore had a difficult time last year in Adelaide, averaging only 10 points a game, but he's just been on fire in this NBL Cup, scoring from inside and outside. He's added that 15 to 20-foot jump shot to his repertoire. And Darnell Mee, well, he's just excitement plus.
A lot of good matchups in this game. And there is the North Melbourne lineup, not the least of which is the battle for a place in the Olympic team between Paul Rees and Ray Borner. We'll talk to David Graham about that very shortly. But right now, we're getting ready for the tip-off with referee Billy Mildenhall. And when you consider what North Melbourne went through off the court pre-season, the club almost collapsing financially, this has been a remarkable recovery, and that team spirit that has helped them so much during 2 NBL finals, one of which they won, is certainly helping them again right now. And there's Maley matching up on Blakemore early on. Simon Dwight, an enormous talent, played in the World Junior Championship final, misses the first shot of the game, and that'll be North Melbourne's restart from the side.
To the first matchup of the game, we've got Darnell Mee is on DMAC. It'll be interesting to see how these two players battle it out.
DMAC with the ball. Posting up is Paul Rees, and there's that situation with Borner. Mee taking it up the court. North Melbourne won't miss too much in terms of their slick transition game without Tony Jensen because they're pretty quick, especially with Darryl McDonald's long outlet passes. There's a foul early in the game. Simon Dwight tries to penetrate.
Certainly Canberra are not gun-shy. We've already seen 2 outside three-pointers by Blakemore and Simon Dwight.
Close, backing in there. Now goes for the little dribble and scores the first points of the final. Canberra generating enormous confidence with the signing of Darnell Mee, and with Robert Rose still to come. Brett Flanagan has, as he told me last night after their semi-final win, he's put together a team that he wants. Last year was a period of rebuilding for them, and this is just what he wants to see playing at the Palace in 1996. And I'm sure the Palace is going to love watching these guys too. This fellow is very entertaining. Rod Johnson guarding him right now. Yeah. Darnell Mee, formerly of the Denver Nuggets team. Very, very credible player.
Yeah, he's 38th pick overall in the draft. Unfortunately, he fractured the bone in his leg and was out for 18 months and was released by the Nuggets. So now he's just playing his way back in and hoping to get that elusive NBA contract back to the big show.
Well, Canberra at the same time hoping to secure him for at least another year. That was the word last night as Borna goes for that outside too. Banks it, doesn't go. Maley evades him and triggers the Canberra Giants offense. Now it has to go back in the hands of Darryl McDonald.
2 shots.
Yeah, body foul on Larry Senstock. Larry will never agree with a call by a referee, but unfortunately, Larry, it was a foul.
Blake
Dwight, amazing athleticism. Above the rim that time.
He was way up. He's actually a little bit higher than what you used to get up there, Tim.
Just a little bit. He's a bit taller as well.
6 points for the game to Simon Dwight. David Close was 6. Blakemore was 6. Mann with 5. Bearing in mind, Brett Flanagan right now has only 1 import in his lineup as Billy Mildenhall calls the blocking foul.
That's the scary thing. Add Robert Rose to this Canberra Cannons outfit and you're looking at championship material right here.
28-18, the Cannons lead. This is Jamie Perlman. White with that traditional now singlet underneath the, or t-shirt underneath the singlet. Ray Borna with the jump shot over Rees, and he'd be pretty happy with that. Barry Barnes, step up and take a look, he says. 30-18. Barry Barnes, of course, the national coach that those men are trying to impress as we go on the road to Atlanta. Here's Rees at the other end, posting up. Gives it to Reedy, though. Close pulls down the rebound, and off we go with Mee. Off that screen from Borna. Now Borna fires it over to Perlman, who sets for the shot.
Ray Borna very noticeable in his attention to the open man there, not forcing any of his shots, playing a very controlled, well-balanced game at this point.
Great pass by Pat Reedy.
Paul Reed's inside for 2 points. Has 8 now, leading all scorers for the Giants, and that at the other end.
8 points for the game.
David Close scoring well tonight, and not just relying on that set three-pointer. 4 of 7 from the field. He's taken only 1 shot from the perimeter. Darryl McDonald just keeping that scoreboard ticking over for his team. Takes him to 7 points, and the gap narrows to 10.
Great position by D-Mac under the basket there, but this game is starting to heat up a little bit now. Both teams were shooting 37% from the floor, which was terrible, but now they're pushing up into that mid 40%.
Perhaps it's the fact that they're playing in the afternoon, but it's just taken them a little while to get into top gear. Simon Dwight stripped, fouled.
Well, that's right. You got to remember both teams played less than 24 hours ago, so it's going to take them a little while to warm up. And generally in pre-season, the coaches run their players pretty hard. They've trained hard during the week and come to a tournament like this to play 2 games in less than 24 hours. It does take it out of you.
Foul count right now is 7 to the Giants, 4 to Canberra.
So the Giants have made a change up on their defense now. They've gone into that zone defense, trying to just take Canberra out of their rhythm a little bit. Look for Darryl McDonald to try and patrol that perimeter and pick off the passes.
Well, that zone won them a championship just 2 years ago and took them to the final last year. Jamie Perlman from the corner. Oh, long lob pass from D-Mac. Couldn't quite control it, Pat Reedy, but they will get it back over the side. He was under defensive pressure. Baseline play coming up for the Giants. They need something here. They trailed by 13 points. Substitution now. Larry Sengstock gets into the game for Matt Shanahan. So they're running both of the big men, Rees and Sengstock, in the middle. Perlman almost snatched that one. Sengstock for three, can make that shot. Not this time. Not an unusual play for the Giants to give Sengstock that perimeter shot. Perlman, though, again from the corner and almost down. Dwight had a chance to tap it in. Here's McDonald trying to work that fast transition game. Roger Shields, I think, is going to call a travel here. No, foul instead.
Unfortunately, D-Mac didn't get the continuous.
Centimetre guard Rick Brunson as their new imports. Perth's Martin Catalini and Brisbane's John Willie replace Scott Dennis, Mike Mackay and Chris Blakemore. Brisbane, their backcourt of Heel, Willie and Larkin have departed. The Bullets welcoming former roller import Steve Woodbury at point and veterans Mike Mackay and Mark Dalton. Canberra, ex-Denver Nugget Darnell Mee joins Robert Rose and Chris Blakemore at Canberra, who discarded both imports and their bench over summer.
See what they collect.
Geelong, Ray O's of the University of Arizona replaces Jeff Arnold at centre. Rupert Zapple arrives from the Magic. Gold Coast, forwards Mark Leake and Chad McLennan are the new imports on the coast. Diminutive Wayne Larkins fills the shoes of Brisbane-bound Woodbury and the retiring Peter Hill. Hobart, 201-centimetre forward Jonathan Roberts replaces Andre, who is no more. Sweet shooting Tim Brenton arrives from Adelaide. Illawarra welcome home Greg Harwood from Sydney, but they're yet to replace Melbourne Thomas. Melbourne, strengthened by swingman Vince Hinchin's NBL return and a full-time Mart Bradke, balancing the loss of Stephen Whitehead and Matthew Rees.
Well, we're certainly in a lot better shape now at this time of the year than we were last year. And Blair Smith is a factor there as well.
Newcastle, without Reggie Smith, Grant Cougar and Matt Alexander, the Falcons are minus much menace up front. Without Tony Jensen and the retired Michael Johnson, they lose even more in the backcourt. Career-resurrecting moves by Scott Ninnis, Lachlan Armfield and Matthew Rees may help, but hopes rest with 205-centimetre import centre David Van Dyke. North Melbourne. Giants fans saying Paul Maley's back are hoping it survives the season. He replaces Chris Gent, while Tony Jensen fills some of the holes left by Mark Leader and Daryl Pearce's retirement.
I think we've had a chance to look at different lineups, and Tony Jensen really, I think, brings in a new dimension to the team.
Perth, White Tampa with a winning formula. Martin Catalini, the only significant loss to a team who can make their big changes in July, when Fisher and Grace can both play as Australians. Southeast Melbourne dropped Adonis Jordan and their one import policy, but gained top-line point guard Bill McCaffrey as one import and returned Mike Kelly as the other. Sydney, mass renovation to Sydney's lineup as Keogh, Dalton, Smythe, Hubbard and Trimmingham are shed. Enter Melbourne Thomas, Shane Heal, Stephen Whitehead and off-guard import Isaac Bruton. Townsville retained both imports for the first time and recruited aggressive, adding Kruger and Alexander to a developing front line.
No question, another thrilling season awaits us in the 1996 Mitsubishi Challenge. This is the NBL Cup final live from the Sydney Entertainment Centre. Just a reminder, there'll be a lot more live games coming your way with blockbuster games on Network 10 throughout the year. We'll be back after this break with the second half of this one.
I'm moving up, nothing can hold me down. I'm gonna get to you. I'm moving up, nothing can hold me down.
Take Canberra to a 14-point lead. Jensen suffering from whiplash, as a matter of fact, from that clash with Kruger. Cannot take any part in this game, and there's some talk that he'll be out for a couple of weeks. Pat Reedy with the pump fake. The multiple pump fake, but Simon Dwight was all over him.
On that point regarding the Giants outside perimeter shooting, someone like Rod Johnson